Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Town of Vesuvius regular open meeting of Town Council, February 23rd, 2021. So we will call the meeting to order at 2 p.m. and we need a resolution to exclude the public. That in accordance with Ministerial Order M192, the Town of Vesuvius regular open council meeting continues to be closed to the public due to the inability to meet physical distancing recommendations made under the Public Health Act in council chambers located at 8707 Main Street, and that to ensure openness, transparency, accessibility, and accountability, the Town of Vesuvius regular open council meetings will continue to be recorded, live streamed, and published on the town's website, and that the regular open meetings be streamed on Eastlink's community channel. Could I have a, thank you, Councillor King, Councillor Rhodes, all in favor? Thank you. Approval of agenda and late items. Are there any late items, Mrs. Hilson? Thank you. So could we please have a motion to approve the regular agenda as printed? Councillor Bennett, Councillor Harvey, all in favor? Thank you. Adoption of minutes. The regular open minutes of February the 9th, 2021. Councillor King, Councillor Rhodes, all in favor? Thank you. Business arising from minutes is none. And first up then, under section E, we have a report from official community plan amendment bylaw and a zoning amendment bylaw and development permit from Ms. McKay.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. Just get myself all set up here. So it's my pleasure to be here today with report number 4 for property located at 5601 Lakeshore Drive. Again, it's OCP amendment number 123.28, 2020, and zoning amendment number 1085.132, also 2020, and development permit 20-05. Council will recall that this application came forward to us previously, and of course, is the report of the request. Purpose of this report is request that council consider final adoption of both of those amending bylaws. And this is for the proposal to develop the property in conformance with the R7 or the high density residential zone. As per the zoning bylaw, it allows a maximum density of 75 units per hectare. And in this particular case, that works out to a total of 65 units. With respect to the community will benefit from this new multifamily development, which will provide accommodation for starter homes or empty nesters looking to purchase in the Lakeshore Drive area. Organizationally, again, this bylaw was approved previously by Ministry of Transportation on February 9th, 2021. No impacts to the town's budget with this report. Following issuance of our development permit, the applicant will have 2 years to commence work on this site, and they just phoned me this morning and they're excited to get going as quickly as possible. Sustainability, the proposal helps address community sustainability goals by developing a vacant property within an already developed area. Now the options before council today, number 1 is in 3 parts today. Part 1A, that council adopts official community plan amendment bylaw number 123-0.28 2020, and then of course B, that council adopts zoning amendment bylaw number 1085.132, and C, council authorizes the issuance of the development permit 20-05 for the subject property. Of course, option 2 is that council defeats the bylaws at 4th reading, and staff are recommending option number 1 in 3 parts. Thank you, Mayor McCordoff.
Thank you very much, Ms. McKay. I had a question about the significant dates. And you said that the development permit, if it was issued, the applicant would have 2 years to commence. Can I ask, there are 3 phases to this
Correct.
Development. Would phase 1 be done and completed before phase 2 starts, or is that not something you're concerned about?
So when the development permit applies to an entire property, if they've commenced on building the phase 1, that would mean they've met the requirements of the development permit. As far as it wouldn't lapse. My understanding is they may actually start on all three buildings at once. They're quite eager to get going, and they recognize, especially with the completion of our housing needs report, that there is a need in our community. So they are looking at probably two buildings at least right now.
So the reason that it occurred to me when I was reading the report, the reason I asked the question is that there would be a fair amount of trucks and dust and noise and that type of thing to initially start. And in the summertime, particularly, that area is really busy.
Right.
And so it just occurred to me that people who are down there and camping or in their units may find it disruptive.
Right.
And that goes with building. I totally understand that. But that's why I was asking, would they be doing one, finish the dust and so on, and build the units first?
Yeah.
That's all.
So that's a very good question. So there's a couple of things that I think are important to speak about here. The first thing is that, of course, I would work very closely with Jared Brownstein, the Director of Operations, and his crew to ensure that we mitigate any concerns with respect to road works, because we do have to extend the sewer line along Lakeshore Drive to the subject property, north from where it stubs right now, to the subject property, and then there's quite a bit of on-site works. The other thing we would do too is we would require that they access from 51st, so that they use that road instead of Lakeshore Drive during construction purposes. So we've thought about some ways that we can address the concerns of the neighbors.
Thank you, because I think that's important. Okay, go ahead, Councillor King.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a question. I'm sure these are only concept drawings, but on Schedule B it shows four floors, and on Schedule C it shows 3.
Right. So there are two different buildings, two different building heights. So the buildings that would front onto 51st are 4-story, and then the one that would appear closer to Lakeshore Drive is only 3-story, and that was done intentionally so that they would step back from Lakeshore Drive. So there are, in fact, two different looks there.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good question.
Go ahead, Councillor Rhodes.
I don't have a question. I'm going to move the staff recommend adoption 1A.
Thank you. And it's seconded by Councillor Bennett. That would be that the official community plan amendment would be adopted. Are there any questions about that one? Okay, well, I'll ask for the question. All in favor? Thank you very much. How about 1B? Is anybody interested in that one? Councillor Rhodes?
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. I'll move option 1B.
Councillor Bennett, you seconding that? Any concern? Do you have you wanted to say something, Councillor Harvey? No,
No, I was just going to second.
supporting it? Okay. So I will call the question then, adopting the zoning amendment bylaw. All in favor? Thank you very much. How about 1C, that we issuance of a development permit 20-05. Councillor Rhodes is seconding that. All in favor? Thank you very much, Ms. McKay.
Thank you very much.
You can get them started on that tomorrow.
We're on it. Thanks.
Okay, next, no petitions. Next is water matters, 24. So this is from Water District's 8 and 9 financial accounts to report on expenditures from accounts payable for water councillors and council to receive for information purposes. And Water District cash requirements to February the 23rd are in the amount of $5,868.09. Is there anyone who would like to move that this be?
Move.
Thank you very much. That would be Councillor Appleby. How about Councillor Moreira? He's not on. Okay. Councillor Rhodes is seconding that. All in favor? Thanks, everybody. All right. Next is Assistant Director, Operations Services Manager, Mr. McKillop. Are you coming up to report on this?
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. This is to request the pre-budget approval for a finishing mower. Currently, the town is operating a 2009 John Deere 1600 turbo mower, and this mows Desert Park through the months of May to September. Currently, with this machine being 11 years old and estimated cost of repair at $15,000, we are looking to move forward with the pre-budget approval. This is noted in the 5-year capital plan for purchase in 2021. Currently, with the COVID restrictions and this particular unit that we're requesting is going to be scheduled for earliest time of May this year. In order to be effective and to provide continued service for Desert Park and the community and our turf fields, we were again requesting for the pre-order now so that we have it for our mowing season. Sorry. So this particular unit that we're looking at is a 16-foot mower deck. Currently, the piece of equipment that we're using would take twice the amount of time that this particular unit would require to mow these fields. We're also looking at utilizing it at the dog parks and where the ball diamonds are, again reducing costs and time to the community. As far as options go, option 1, pre-budget approval to start the order process for the new finishing mower, and option 2 is to delay the pre-budget approval until budgets have been finalized. Just to be noted that the overall request is $35,000 for this unit.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Did I not see in here that you are required to mow this lawn weekly? It just gets watered lots and so it grows quickly?
Yeah, so due to the effluent water that's being used in that area, it gets its own little fertilizer quite often. So there's good irrigation, and again with the effluent water, it grows quite rapidly. It takes about, I'd say, 12 hours weekly with the current unit that we're using. I estimated that the cost will be cut down in half with utilizing a tractor and the 16-foot mower deck.
Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you,
Councillor King.
Madam Mayor. I'll move number 1, that we approve the purchase of this new mower for the $35,000. I just have a question. What do you do with the old one? Do we try to recuperate some funds, or do we use it as a backup? Or?
So we will try to recuperate funds. We've done some investigating online of what you can get for them, and the cost was around $22,000, but that's going to be based on most likely sending it out to Prairie Coast and Kelowna to get a real estimate of cost repairs. Again, $15,000 was at the high point for recommendation of cost repairs, but until they actually dive into it, they won't know the full cost. So we'll look at the potential of fixing it, and then we'll just look at it selling it as is.
Thank you. So it was moved. Are you seconding it, Councillor Rhodes? Thank you very much. Did you have a question too? Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Member Corduff. Another question. Good report, Andrew. I'm glad to see you here. We all like Jared. He always gives good reports and that kind of thing, but I've always been a big supporter of staff bringing reports to us.
Thank you.
So thanks for doing that. Good job. Hopefully we'll see you more often. Nothing.
When I'm asking for money, I'll be here.
Now, you have to dress very carefully when you come asking for money. So you have to have on polished shoes and normally a tie. So you're okay.
I'm trying.
Yeah, good job. I just wanted to pass that on to you. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded that we go with option 1, that we give pre-budget approval for this finishing mower. All in favor? Thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, next is the Community Emergency Preparedness Fund. Mr. Brownstein.
short people. Thank you, Your Worship. Before you, is a staff report asking for council resolution to move forward with a grant application for the Community Emergency Preparedness Fund. This is in order for us to do some more in-depth investigations and planning for flood protection and flood mitigation, as well as flood response. True Consulting is kind of headed this one up. They are going to be going through and doing the grant application for us, and they will be providing us with the final reporting, etc. This is on top of the work that the OBWB has already completed, as well as we did a drone flyover of our foreshore last fall. So again, we're just trying to compile this information into one useful and formal document so that one, staff has the ability to respond to flood works, and council can understand the risks associated with future high water and floods within the community. So there are two options before council. One is that we proceed with the grant funding for $135,000, and to the town not proceed with the grant funding for $135,000. Staff is recommending that we move forward with the grant application. This is 100% funding through UBCM, so there are no budget implications to the town, and we will only move forward with this project should we be successful in the grant funding.
Thank you. The first thing I thought of was, it doesn't mention anywhere in here the Okanagan flood story, which you have just mentioned now with OBWB. It was done in 2020. It's a very comprehensive look at flood mapping in the South Okanagan, all the way down to the border. So I'm hoping that True will absolutely look at that, because it's very, very comprehensive.
Yeah, so Your Worship, we actually got the data set from OBWB, so we have all the, I think it was 600 gigs of information.
Good.
That True has been provided, and they will be using as part of their assessment.
Good, thank you very much. Did somebody else? Go ahead, Councillor Bennett.
Thank you, Mayor Ricardo. I'll move option one.
Are you seconding that, Councillor Rhodes? Does anybody else have any questions about this? So we will wait and see if we get a grant. Or do you have any idea when you might hear about that?
I think grant closes next week or the following week, and by the way, not to sound cynical, but the way the province is moving right now, it's probably going to be a few months before we hear anything.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. We did vote on that, didn't we? Oh.
Nope.
We didn't? All right, so we've had it moved and seconded that we go with option one. All in favor? Thank you very much. That's carried.
Perfect. Thank you, Your Worship.
Well, we've got double trouble today. Okay. We need to have Mr. Hilland and Mr. McCaskill. Are both of you going to speak? It's your turn.
Thank you, Your Worship. So we're in front of you guys today with the rapid response vehicle. We're hoping to kind of start moving forward with this. So we're going to ask for pre-approval instead of waiting for the rest of the financial plan to be adopted, because we want to make sure we're moving ahead and that we're going to receive the truck throughout the busiest season. It doesn't make sense to kind of get it once all the tourists have gone down and we start to slow down. So we're hoping to discuss it now and get approval on it. So I've prepared a report for you. Quick overview on this is the rapid response vehicle was approved in principle back in October of 2020 when we were taking our budget to the Rural Fire Board. And again, it did make it through the special council meeting on January 28th when we were talking about the larger budget project. Since then, we've been working on specifications, design, and the options around putting this replacement apparatus in. So this isn't a new apparatus for us. It's going to be replacing our older bush truck. And the idea behind it is it's going to give us more capabilities and more options as a fire department to respond to different types of scenarios. So do you guys have any questions before I present the options? Or?
Does anybody have any questions about this? Okay, go ahead with the options.
Okay, so option one's that council directs staff to commence with the RFP for purchase of the rapid response vehicle at no cost, at cost not to exceed $260,000, inclusive of any applicable and non-refundable taxes. And provides early budget approval for the purchase with 50% of town's share funded from the provincial COVID-19 Safe Restart Grant, 50% of the Osoyoos Rural Fire Protection District share paid to the town upfront from their reserves, and the remainder to be financed by the MFA equipment loan for up to $154,011 over 5 years, and having each service participant paying their share throughout that time. Option two, direct the staff not to commence with the RFP process and consider funding the approval at a later date. And option three, do not approve the purchase of the rapid response vehicle and eliminate it from the budget.
Thank you very much. I guess the first thing I would think of is you're suggesting that the COVID restart fund be used for this. Has that been?
That was approved during the budget meeting.
That we use this? Okay, fair enough. I'd forgotten that. Anybody else? Go ahead, Councillor
Yeah,
King.
can you just give me clarity on the OIB 48,000?
So the 48,000, their portion, it will be funded over the 5 years from the MFA. And that's why if you look at in option one, the amount we're borrowing isn't 50%. It's slightly more because we're also covering their portion, which they'll be repaying each year. So they'll be applying their
And
amount.
that's like a guarantee we get that money back?
Yeah, we have an agreement
okay.
with them
Okay.
for fire
Thank you.
protection.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Go ahead, Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. So just a question of clarity. It was approved in the budget process. That's what my memory tells me.
Yes.
But the budget has not been approved yet, so maybe you could provide a little background on that.
I'm sure I can confuse everyone, Your
Yeah,
Worship.
thank you.
This is a little bit interesting for me, because council adopts each year a 5-year financial plan. And we run until typically the budget and the financial plan is adopted not later than May 15th each year. And oftentimes it's near that date. We've been operating fully for 5 months. What's been our expenditure authority? Well, it's been year 2 of your 5-year financial plan adopted last year. So items that weren't fully contemplated or envisioned in year 2 of your 5-year financial plan, we go through this process to ensure that council wants to include them. Otherwise, we should just be going ahead and doing the things that we said we were going to do in year 2 until we're told to change something. Because we're still paying all our wages, all our operating expenses, and the authorization for that is your 5-year financial plan, albeit the one adopted last year. Does that make sense?
Go ahead.
Just a follow-up, and I don't mean to digress away from the report. Could we look for some improvements in that area in the future to make it a little bit more clear for?
I would like to see us adopt a financial planning and budgeting policy that describes a process as well, and then have a process whereby council would be asked to consider amendments to that.
Yeah.
Either new programs or changes or service area reductions. I think we could do a lot better, make it clearer.
I'm sorry, I don't like to ask rhetorical questions and that kind of thing, but I think there is some confusion with the general public sometimes when you move ahead with these things and you haven't even approved them yet. And some of us understand it, but I know lots of people that don't, so a little clarity in that area would be good.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it would help. And one other thing that we could do, and something that I created in another community, was sort of a handbook as to local governments and how they operate and why, because for people unfamiliar with it, it can be pretty foreign what we're doing. And the idea was to make it understandable. People could go to this handbook and get a good amount of information about land use planning, about financial management, about administrative fairness and due process, about the way a council governs and makes decisions. So all things that we look forward to trying to do as time permits.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Councillor Bennett.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. I'd like to go ahead and recommend option 1. And I'd just like to thank you guys for putting that brochure in, showing the truck. I think that's really, because when we first started looking at this a couple of years ago, the visions we all had of this truck were all different.
Well,
It
and
didn't
that's,
look like
yeah.
this. Now you see it, it really makes sense.
Yeah, as questions were getting asked, I noticed a lot of them were kind of the same thing. And what I was envisioning was very different than what people were describing to me, thinking we were going to be building. So that's why I took the time to put that together and also presented that to the Rural Fire Board as well.
That's perfect.
Good.
Thank you.
And I thank you for your sentence in here where you looked at the option of building the apparatus in-house. I do appreciate that you took that seriously, although I was kind of kidding about it. However, I do know that Oliver did something, so this obviously seems like a better plan. Go ahead, Councillor Rhodes.
So I'll second that motion, and I have a comment if I could.
Absolutely. So it's been moved and seconded that we go with option 1, and you had a comment. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. During the budget process that we had, I was a little bit resistant, about this purchase, not because I didn't think we had a need for it. We've had 2 fairly tragic incidents in our community over the last little while, and it brings to light that opinion that nobody ever pays any attention to the fire department until your house is on fire, and then you're the most important people in the world. And I've said that 100 times over the last few years. You guys did an awesome job, not only with the response, but some of the things you do afterwards as well that are not appreciated by a lot of people. And, I'm back on board. I think a well-equipped fire department is absolutely essential and beneficial. And, if that unit sits in the fire hall, never gets used, that's a good thing. Yeah.
Absolutely. With these guys have had a tough run for the last 2 months.
Oh, yeah.
And they've done it extremely well, so we really appreciate it. And appreciate the fact that you've had a lot of people, a lot of firefighters turn out to assist you, and that's a really positive thing. Okay, so it has been moved and seconded that we go with option 1. I will ask the question then. All in favor? Thank you. That was carried unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
And now we will move to general net payroll and Sun Bowl Arena financial accounts. And this is to pay, report on expenditures for accounts payable and payroll information. So the general cash requirements are $189,156.08. Sun Bowl cash requirements of $4,147.52, and net payroll accounts of $82,780.28. And the options are for council to receive the general cash requirements, Sun Bowl cash requirements, and net payroll accounts as referenced above for information purposes, or number 2, to request additional information from staff. Is there somebody going to go ahead? Councillor King?
Move it.
Move option 1?
Yes.
Thank you. You're seconding that, Councillor Rhodes. All in favor? Thank you very much. And now we'll go on to the meeting, the accessibility and an age-friendly committee, which was held on February the 4th. Councillor King, do you have anything to add to what is presented in here?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Not really anything to add. I just want to make a couple points. Ms. McKay, Director of Planning Development, was at that meeting, and we discussed the opportunity of more accessible parking and a few key locations on Main Street and maybe on 87th. And the audible signals at the 3 main traffic lights in town has been on our agenda for quite a while now, and we believe we can move forward with that project. And Highways mentioned they would support 50% of that funding.
Good. Okay. So, anybody have any questions for Councillor King? All right, then what we need to do is have a motion, please, to accept the Accessibility and Age-Friendly Committee minutes as information. You're going to do that, Councillor King, Councillor Rhodes. All in favor? Thank you. All right, next we have the CAO report, please.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Not a whole lot to report this week for myself and the Corporate Services Department. A lot of time been spent on human resource matters, job postings, reviewing resumes, interviewing. We've got 2 more days of interviews this week scheduled. The South Okanagan Aquatic Center feasibility study is out, and we're looking for requests for proposals to provide the services described in that document. It's available on our website or on BC Bid or at the Interior Purchasing Office. Qualified providers are encouraged to take a look at it and put in a proposal if they feel they're qualified. Community services, they had a small grant to support Family Day activities. They had activity kits to give out to families at the Sonora Center, and they had 2 Family Day public skating sessions that were free. Preparing for the upcoming marina season. And so the people with slips booked are being reminded and requested to renew the arrangements for their annual moorage. And a proposal is being prepared for operation of the marina kiosk building and parking space, and perhaps some commercial boat rentals there as well. The curling club closed down last week for the season. Their activities were seriously curtailed by COVID-19, and so they're out, and we're probably looking at the arena shutting down towards the end of March. We've still got user groups in there. There's public skating, minor hockey, figure skating still going on in the facility. Just for council's information, because the paper reported there was no plans for a COVID vaccination clinic in Osoyoos. No, our staff more than 2 weeks ago met with Interior Health, toured possible locations in the community, let them know what the costs associated might be with various locations. It would appear at this time they're moving towards establishing a vaccination center in the Sonora Center, in the upstairs meeting rooms, working on logistics, traffic flow, cleaning, etc. And of course, we can't know or won't know when we might expect to receive vaccine for distribution in the community. So the finalization of those details will come from Interior Health. As I mentioned, corporate services has been a lot about job descriptions, job postings, ads, reviewing resumes. We're preparing to issue a request for resumes and application for a position of a building inspector to work under our senior building official for as much of this year as we possibly can get, because he plans to retire in the near future. A lot of communities have had a really hard time getting building officials. I'm all too familiar with those challenges, and so I think the sooner we get out to the market and see who might be interested, the better. You know, we're fortunate in that it's such an attractive community that hopefully we'll have a lot of interested applicants that are qualified, but might not be as simple as we think. Financial services, working on year-end things, audited financial statements, budgets, all of that good stuff. One major change this year would be homeowner grants. People are used to applying through their municipality for those, and people are going to have to do that directly through the province this year. So we'll be curious to see how that works out, because we provide a lot of assistance to homeowners in the town to help ensure that they've completed their form properly and submitted it and such. So I'm not sure how that'll roll out. Hopefully it's smooth. Fire Department, thanks for approving early budget approval for rapid response vehicle. As noted in Deputy Chief Hillen's report, they'd met with the Osoyoos Rural Fire Protection District trustees and reviewed that potential purchase. They had some questions. They wanted to see what they were participating in, as they should, and it was explained, and they support that purchase as indicated in the report. The new self-contained breathing apparatus that council approved for the department, 2 $230,000 or so worth is scheduled to arrive any day now. And then we'll determine what we can practically, legally, and properly do with the used equipment, if it can go to third world country who might lack equipment and where the standards may not be as high. But the idea is to make sure that it's somewhat serviceable and usable before giving it away. So that's going to happen. Planning and development, as you know, has been busy. There's been a lot of development interest and activities. We anticipate a busy construction year. It's being constrained a little bit by price of lumber, but it looks like it's going to be a good year. Council will start seeing applications. The development approved on Lakeshore Drive tonight, or this afternoon, is a good one for the community. Be nice to have those additional units of housing. Business license renewals are ongoing, and Bylaw continues to do what it does, dealing with dogs off leash, noise complaints about barking dogs, dealing with unsightlies. Building permit issuance so far in February has been kind of slow, but we'll see that ramp up as we get closer into spring, and days like today get people thinking about building things. It's pretty nice out there. Capital Public Works, we're relocating the trail at the north end of the airport. Part of the canal trail sits on private property and not within the easement provided for it. So we're just simply going to remove it and replace it with a gravel trail for now. We'll see what airport plans how they may or may not impact that trail anyway. So capital in Public Works, Bayview wastewater pumping station, connections to sanitary and the water main will be going on imminently. Hopefully that work will be complete soon. Vedette Drive, they've located the infrastructure works and removed the pavement surface, so the improvements to that road surface area are there. It'll be an inconvenience for a little while, but over the long term, an improvement to those people in the service levels. The RFP for the Main Street redesign was awarded to WSP at the last meeting, I guess. And they're out there doing the elevations and surveying already too, so that's going on. We've awarded a contract for project management for the Osoyoos Child Care Center expansion to Collier's project leaders. We needed somebody to coordinate all the various professional trades and contractors on that site without the capacity to do it ourselves. So that's moving forward. Contract for pavement marking has been awarded. Water extension to the south, construction will start March the 3rd. And a fleet assessment has been completed. And I can't remember who got that work. But that'll look at your equipment charge-out rates, your replacement reserve fund contributions, your overall plan for managing the financial implications of a fleet of fairly wide-ranging different equipment. So, sorry, Your Worship, I said I didn't have much and then I talked too much.
Sorry, it just proves that you've been busy. Can I ask, you mentioned the pavement markings. Is that highway markings or is that in other places in town?
No, that's in other areas in
Okay.
town. The pavement markings on Main Street, Highway number 3,
Yes.
are the Ministry of Transportation. Except I think they leave us the off the traveled portion line painting for, say, the angle parking on Main Street.
Yes.
But the location of crosswalks and painting of them is determined by Ministry of Engineers, with the opportunity to have input into those things, but we don't ultimately get to decide.
We've had a number of concerns about it and people writing to us and the town.
Yeah, it's too bad that they
yeah.
paved so late in the season and
Yes.
didn't get the crosswalk markings in particular restored.
So we're looking forward to having that done because I think it'll make people feel better.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Did you have a question?
Yeah,
Go
is
ahead.
there a timeline for those markings, Mr. Chabot?
There was. The agreement runs from now till, I think, March next year, but I think the services are supposed to be performed and complete by the middle of June.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Let's hope
it's
so
early in
before
the
spring.
season. Yeah, don't come here last because they're usually worn off and hardly visible by spring. Although we don't do a whole lot of pavement scraping here, we did do some.
Did you have a question? No.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
just a comment. Basically, there was something yesterday, somebody made a comment about when they did the highways, the crosswalks, that they'd really appreciate it if they put one across from Junction 3 because it's so busy there now, and people want to cross over the cafe.
That's totally up to highways, and they, yeah.
So, Your Worship, if I could, just
Yeah.
because I think there might be some rationalization of crosswalks on the provincial highway. Their main objective is moving traffic. We may see some changes that some people won't be overly happy with. I think our Main Street redesign and look at pedestrian usage, about accessibility, about sidewalk width, street furniture designs. Part of that process is that they're going to meet with Ministry of Transportation a couple of times. So hopefully they'll have some ideas and some thoughts from the community, from council, from staff about ways to improve that on there. But I think we might see things change a little bit.
I think that the crosswalks that are there now are much easier to see in terms of the walkers and cars, because they have had, many of them now have the jut outs, so there's less walk.
Yeah, the
across
bump outs really help
Yeah.
calm traffic and make it a shorter distance for
And,
people.
and even on Motel Row, there's the one at Cottonwood, which is much easier to see and has a light, and the one just this side of the bridge. But there's a long distance from one side of the road to the other, like down in front of many of them. And I think that's a concern, because if there are parked cars there and there are people going maybe a little faster than they should, it can be dangerous. So I totally appreciate that they're going to do a study and look carefully at that. Okay, so if there are no more questions, could we have a motion, please, to receive the CAO report? Councillor King, Councillor Rhodes, all in favor? Thank you very much, and we'll now go on to council reports. Councillor King, you're first.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. On February 4th, I had a Zoom meeting with the Accessibility and Age-Friendly Committee. The new members were on the Zoom meeting, Interior Health, and a couple other volunteer members. There was a lot of great discussion, and I think you're going to hear of a lot of new ideas coming forward for the accessibility of people in our community.
Good, thank you very much. Councillor Bennett.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. A couple meetings here, February 10th, School District 53. I guess the big thing there is it's kind of a pivotal year for the teachers, because when the kids start coming back to school, there's some concerns of the kids that have been outreach, the social emotional, them getting back, being under a teacher's tutelage. So there's some concern about that a little bit. February 11th, went to the South Okanagan Rural Growth, and that's basically a lot of stuff about trying to decide what kind of funding. Do you try to attract GPs, or do you try to attract nurse practitioners, depending on their wage levels and how many people you can get? Then February 17th, Destination Soyuz. Basically there was a lot of concerns about temporary staff housing, and we had a meeting yesterday with OIB, and we're looking at some things there possibly. And then February 18th, I attended the roundtable on behalf of the mayor for the coordination of the vaccine clinics, and you may want to speak on that. And then on February 22nd, we had the PCN discussion meeting yesterday on the funding model of trying to decide what direction to go. That's my report.
Thank you. And Councillor Bennett said to me, I've had so many meetings this week that I feel like the mayor. He's been busy. Thank you, Councillor Bennett. He's also the acting mayor this month, so that's why I went to a couple of these extras. Councillor Harvey.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. The only thing to report is last week was the first library board meeting of the year. It was largely selecting officers, new chair, chairs for the 3 standing committees we have. And I volunteered again this year to participate in the Finance Committee to bring forward a budget for 2022. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Who is the new chair of the library board?
Sherry from
Karamias?
Carmias.
Good.
Yeah.
Sherry Adakri, good. Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Rhodes, do you have a report?
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. No, I have nothing to report.
Okay, thank you. So I had a couple of things. I was on a very long regional district meeting last week. Fortunately, it was on Zoom, so I could get up and make coffee and that type of thing from my house. But it started at 9, and I got off the call at 3 minutes to 5. So that was a long day, just dealing with that. But we did have a report on ESS, Emergency Social Services, and the EOC updates, and it's going to be a coordinated approach with the entire regional district. So Mr. Chabot was also on that call, and we're kind of looking at the floods, the fires, everything that happens in the regional district and how we can help one another and work together. So that was important, and we will have more meetings on that. And apparently we have to take a test or have some kind of an event where we have to virtual exercise, and I'm not quite sure how I feel about that. However, it's not for a month. So you've heard from Mr. Chabot about the vaccine clinics, and definitely you will be seeing those types of things organized and set up in each community for the next 7 months, really, because that's what they're hoping to have this ready so that they can deal with it. However, I think that they're trying to look at much smaller communities. So Councillor Bennett was on the call last week, because I was on another one, about the mayors are having weekly meetings on what's going on with the vaccine clinics, and so I will keep up to date on that. But we haven't got them set up yet, but they're in the process. Smaller communities, I think, may do things a little bit differently because there wouldn't be nearly as many people to vaccinate. So they may not have it spread over 7 months. We'll wait and see. The PCN, so primary care networks, it's a big issue right now. There's lots of things going on. The Rural Growth Committee from Oliver and Asuyas is looking at how we can work best to put in a primary care center certainly in Oliver and in Asuyas. It's ongoing, and it's a matter of coordinating interior health and divisions of family practice and the doctors and all of those things. They all play a role in it, and it can be quite confusing, but we will persevere and keep attending these meetings. I was also at an Asuyas Lake Water Science Forum meeting, because I'm the co-chair of the Finances Committee for that, and it will be held at this point, I think I said this the last time, in late October in Asuyas at the Sonora Center. We're certainly hoping that there will be enough loosening of the restrictions that we can have people from both sides of the border, and that we will have lots of experts that attend this. And I think that the fact that we had a report today from Mr. Brownstein on applying for some grant funding on flood control, definitely that's a big part of it. So we look forward to continuing with this. Like to congratulate Chief Louie on being elected for the 14th time, I think. I can't remember how long it is, but anyway, he has been elected again as the chief of OIB, and obviously there are a lot of people, a lot of the residents and band members that are very pleased with the way he has handled things. So congratulations to him. In the last week, 10 days, we've had a fair amount of ice on the lake because it got cold. And it is quite a bit warmer today, and in front of my house there is still ice on there because I'm at the south end, and it's more shallow and it's less upset with wind. So we often get the lake frozen first and last to leave the ice. It is very soft, and people need to be extremely careful going out. I would not recommend going on the ice at all right now, because it is very soft on top and water is on there, so it's melting. However, I did look up the weather report for the next few days in Osoyoos, and we're supposed to get some snow again this week. I'm not sure whether that doesn't feel like it feels like spring today, but at night it's going to get cold. So it's possible that we're going to see ice and thawing for the next few days. So just everybody needs to be very careful. And the last thing is, I went up to Destination Osoyoos, and it's on my other coat, not on this one, but I got a few badges, which I gave out to some of the people in the office here. And Destination Osoyoos has badges saying kindness is contagious. And I have it on my coat, and I've been wearing it. So I think it's so important that we are all kind to one another, because it's, you know, it's important. It's a difficult time that we're going through. And that reminds me that I didn't mention the fact that I was just on a call, a conference call with Minister Osborne, and who's Municipal Affairs, and Minister Malcolmson, who is involved with, she's the Minister for Mental Health and Addictions. And so before I listened in the call, I contacted our community paramedic, Todd Coons, and asked what his thoughts were on this. And he says definitely there are a lot of people that he sees, because he travels around to and visits people. And there are a lot of people that are concerned. They think they need some help, and it's difficult to get it. And I think the lines, the telephone lines are often busy, and maybe counselors are not available to talk right away. So it continues to be an ongoing issue, but I'm pleased that it is being addressed provincially and with the health units. So please know that there is help for people who require that. And he says that one of the things that we do have here besides drug problem is alcohol problem. So that would be understood as well, because the liquor store seems to be busy. And so, you know, we just need to help one another, be kind to one another, think about phoning your friends, phoning your neighbors, dropping something off at their door. So kindness is contagious. So that's my report for today. And I think that we do not have any further things on our agenda, nothing on the in-camera. So I will entertain a motion to terminate this meeting, please. All right, I'm going to pick. Thank you, Councillor Harvey. Appreciate that. Councillor King is seconding that.